If you got cheated on, what will it take for you to give the cheater a second chance? Story 1. You have to be the biggest dumbass to give a cheater another chance. Don't disrespect yourself like that. Just walk away. They are only sorry once they're caught. Aim 50-50 with people changing. If you do, that's great. However, people get better at lying, hiding things. Story 2. Nothing. Once my trust is gone, it's gone forever. You cannot re-earn it. For whatever reason you cheated, you should have just ended it. Don't make a big deal of it. Give them no emotion. Leave and realize that person ultimately did you a favor. Plus, not making a big fuss, really fudge with their ego. It's a fantastic fudge you. Story 3. My ex-wife, 10-year marriage, and mother of my 2 kids cheated and left me for another man 5 years ago. It was bad. She is dead to me. We have no relationship now, despite co-parenting. We deal with kids and money business via text. She does not deserve my friendship or respect and will never have it again. Story 4. If I like them, then it doesn't matter how many times they cheat on me, because at the end of the day, it'd be my fault that I wasn't able to satisfy their needs. It's human psychology. Naturally, people have a need for uniqueness and curiosity, and sometimes you get bored of what you have. If I truly love someone, I should be able to fulfill that duty to the fullest and provide them with my utmost effort. Otherwise, the relationship is doomed to begin with. Sure, you could say a healthy relationship requires both persons to put in the same amount of effort, but that's the push and pull of natural human attraction. You weigh the pros and cons and then find the middle ground. But that's not how a relationship works. People's tendencies change, and their opinion of you is not always a constant. So what happens is you create expectations, you lose your tolerance, and you begin to question your satisfaction with your partner. These are all thoughts that weigh down a relationship. A true love can be a one-sided phenomenon. When you like someone with all your heart, you will put in 100 of the effort, regardless of how much you'd sacrifice, because your fulfillment is their happiness, and your goal is to make their life as amazing as it can be and see them smile every day. Over time, your partner will recognize your efforts, and they will appreciate you and love you for how much you love them, even if they don't realize it at first. Story 5. Nope, not gonna happen. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Taking them back only does one of 2 things, both of which will permanently alter your personality. 1, you become a cuck, a pushover in their eyes that you have no spine and they can manipulate you at their will. Or 2, you become a supermassive, dominant, controlling person. You have to control their every move and thought. You'll basically become the bad cop in their eyes, like an overprotective parent for them to rebel against, and they will become a sneaky teenager again. It's best to cut your losses and move on. It will hurt, but it's better to walk away now than rush destroying who you are. Story 6. It depends on the context and how the cheating occurred. The thing about cheating is that it's rarely a one-time thing. If you do it once and you don't get caught, or the person forgives you, it wires your brain to think that's okay to do it again because you'll get away with it while enjoying the dopamine from novelty. Also, it might destroy the other person's confidence, which will have an impact on the relation. Story 7. I forgave a cheater multiple times. I was too young and truly believed no one else would ever want me. And I felt bad for him. He truly did have an addiction, but it was never going to end. Now I will never ever put up with that again. Ever. If I do, somebody please take me out behind the barn. Story 8. Nothing. I left and she asked for forgiveness. I said no. It wasn't tipsy. It wasn't a stupid mistake. She was fully aware and consented to cheating. What made me decided like this was because I caught her with the dude having intimacy. When she said she won't do it again, I said again, "How long have you cheated on me?" I didn't hear her answer. I just walked away. Didn't even take back my stuff that I gave her. Try for broken English. Story 9. Way too many variables here. I'm currently in a 13-year relationship, so if cheating occurred, a second chance would not happen without couples counseling, a profound apology, and an explanation. In a shorter relationship, I'd probably say there's not enough investment in the relationship to bother giving a second chance without a long time apart. Story 10. An honest second chance? Nothing. They'll take what I can get from the relationship. Other than that, the emotions are completely gone. It's always important to figure out if the person you're with truly has good intentions with you. I don't see how someone who brings another party into your relationship behind your back does. Staying with a person who hurt you will only cause insecurity within the relationship as well as toxicity. Think about how many years you spent and how much effort it took you to feel secure within yourself. Would a person who truly loves you wreck it? No, it won't matter how many times they tell you it didn't have anything to do with you. It'll still feel like it did for a while. It respects someone who had the courage to confess to doing so but to find out by yourself after constantly being lied to is such an awful feeling. I dislike to be the person to resort to insecurity, not trust my partner, and to invade their privacy due to the constant doubts. It doesn't matter how much love there was prior, I'd want an out for my own good. I'd have to resort to working on my self-esteem yet again. To be able to be a trusting partner for the next person, because a person who screws with my boundaries is not my person. However, like I said, it'll take what I can get. If there was kids and marriage involved, I wouldn't want to ruin my kids' childhood. What I would take most pride in is the ability to be civil and respect them as a person, but not a partner. No need for messy divorces. I want it to be a clean one. Is it obvious I've had to work on myself? Yeah, probably. It's important to put yourself first. Story 11. Gave me lots of money to be taken back. Oh, LOL. If he partied too hard, my time, then the least he can do is pay me back for it, since he want to whore around. I wouldn't even consider it a relationship anymore, but just some person with a title of being my BF. Probably sounds cruel, but cheaters don't really deserve much anyways. Story 12. IDK, I think it really depends on what the context is for me, so no way to know in advance. However, I'm polyamorous and in a poly relationship, so for my partner to cheat on me, unless it's a simple case of genuine boundary miscommunication, which I could forgive easily, as in such case, the cheating is just the accidental result of a misunderstanding each other's boundaries regarding what counts as cheating in our relationship rather than an intentional act, he would most likely have to be really fudge committed to cheating, which would make it a big deal. Story 13. I do believe in second chances and for someone to redeem themselves, so I would have some conditions. I have seen it work out with close friends. It would all depend on the person though, but we're not all perfect, so yeah, a second chance to prove yourself would be an idea I'd consider, but a third, fourth chance, no way. Story 14. That's a really tough call in my current relationship. On one hand, I genuinely love her. It's a great relationship. We support one another. We have a lot of fun. Our intimate life is excellent, etc., etc. In this day-she age, you really need to think hard before throwing something like that away. On the other hand, she has made a big deal out of fidelity. If I found out she had engaged in infidelity while speaking so avidly against it, I think I would lose too much respect for her to keep things going. Story 15. There are different levels to cheating, and people can draw the line anywhere among them. There's a huge differences between kissing someone on a night out and an affair spanning years. I forgave someone for a drunken kiss, although it progressed into more, but the one with the month-long affair, I never even tried to forgive. Story 16. I have never had this happen, but I also spent a while being straight up and not getting emotional, only involved, and it was always older women. Then I got married. I never have asked a woman out, my wife included. I was a cute kid, said never getting married. I did at 27 and been faithful 29 years, never though possible. For me, a week was enough, but the right person. And I've never crossed the line even getting hit on in front of her. I always said, I'm married there or not, as much of a dog as I was, I would never want to hurt her this way. Did to know I had it in me, but best decision I ever made. Just have to find the right one. And it doesn't happen when you're looking. There are faithful people out there. Gotta invest in each other. Do things together. I'm a musician and I taught her sound and some bass. She loves it and is great at it. We ride Harleys all over the country together. She has a beautiful bike and is a great rider. If I cheated, she could probably forgive me, but I don't know if I could. She kind of thought I did during a bad patch, but never. I just had old girl friends keeping me alive for a while I lost my shoot. That she did to know personally 2,000 miles away, and I was trying to do as much damage to myself as I could. They just kept me alive and knew I would never cross that line. They would have never tried, and both are died now. Glad I got to see them 35-year friends. She had an amazing amount of grace. Me know where close best to never to hurt anyone like that. Be adult enough about it to break up first. Please, if you love them, even at least show them that decency. Not drinking really helps. I stopped 6 months after I met her. Otherwise, this story would have had a different ending. We're still happily married. Story 17. Usually it's a two-way street. Cheaters are usually cheating because they aren't getting any loving at home. Some people cheat because they feel entitled. These folks may have set up the situation where they create problems in the marriage to justify their cheating or to get the other person to leave them, even to the point of getting them to cheat so they can appear to be the victim. Story 18. Depends on the circumstance, really. I don't think cheating is black and white. I'd be more inclined to give a second chance if my partner had been communicating their needs to me and I'd not listened or changed and found out they'd had a one-night stand. If both of us were actively communicating our needs and meeting them or trying to, then I probably wouldn't take back a one-night stand. I know I will get disliked for my comment, but I can see how these things happen. Story 19. I guess the most basic prerequisite would be for him to show genuine regret over his actions, which would necessarily have to start with him confessing to me voluntarily rather than being found out. I could see myself being able to forgive someone who approaches me and honestly goes, I made a mistake. I need to tell you because I feel bad about it. I'm sorry, it won't happen again. Though I can't guarantee that that would be enough. I luckily never was cheated on, as far as I know. Story 20. If I was in a marriage, especially with kids, and she was the one who came forward and told me, instead of me finding out on my own, and if she showed a lot of remorse and was proactive about fixing the situation, and if the cheating event was not a prolonged relationship, then I would consider continuing the relationship, mainly for the sake of the kids. If I wasn't married, though, it would be an immediate end to the relationship, sadly. Answer: this is a tough one because for the sake of the kids isn't always a good thing. I see where you're coming from, but I don't want my kids to think taking back a cheater is okay. I want them to see that I respect and love myself enough to walk away because that's what I want them to do if they were to be cheated on. I also want to show my kids to see what a loving, healthy, faithful relationship looks like, and they're not going to get that when one parent has cheated. Kids aren't dumb. Even if you don't tell them what mom did, they pick up on subtle cues and behaviors that tell them something is wrong, and the marriage isn't a loving one because it won't be for a while. Their brains might set it aside, but they'll remember it when they get older. And when you don't think they can hear you and mom talking or even arguing about it, they can and they will. Story 21. 3 things, I suppose. 1, never go out to bars or parties past 10 p.m. ever. We are going to talk it out on how they ended up cheating so it can be avoided permanently. They give me some really good reasons why I shouldn't break up or find someone else because of how much trust they betrayed. Otherwise, they are gone. Story 22. Absolutely nothing. A cheater will never get a second chance with me. If I found out my partner cheated, I'd break up on the spot and they'd never see me again the rest of their life, or until after the divorce if we were married. And if I found out my partner had cheated in a past relationship, I'd break up with them on the spot as well. I believe some few cheaters can feel regret and not cheat again, but I would never be the person they get a chance to prove that with, LOL. Story 23. Incredibly good understanding of their reasons and then monitoring those reasons for future with openness and communication to make sure they won't repeat falling into those same patterns without me knowing. For example, if they cheated because they were feeling left and alone, in future, I want them to regularly evaluate and share with me how left and alone they feel before it ever comes to cheating. If it came to cheating, it means the communication failed, and it must improve significantly to have the trust rebuilt. Story 24. You don't give them a second chance unless it shows in their actions, but they can pretend that for the time being, and trust isn't easily formed if it's been broken before. Besides, giving them another chance makes you lose your respect to yourself more. It means you're allowing them to walk all over you, to let them do what they want because you allowed it. If they're really serious, they wouldn't have cheated. Or if they want to flirt around and not have a commitment, they should have stayed single. Story 25. I wouldn't be able to because the trust is now broken, and I would always wonder if they are out cheating. I would wonder who are they texting or talking to on the phone. But hypothetically speaking, let's say I gave them a second chance. It would start with they would have to come forward to me and confess to everything. It can't be that I found out. It had to come from them first. We would both need individual therapy as well as couples therapy. If there were any friends or family that knew about and encouraged their cheating behaviors, they would have to end those relationships or have very, very limited contact. That's just a start. But really, the trust is broken, and I can't get past that. Story 26. Nothing. There is no second chance. I got cheated on via an emotional affair. I know people optimistically think that being a cheater is an on-off switch. So if you cheated once, you just flip that switch to off and then you're never a cheater again. The problem is not that the person cheated, it's that they have the switch at all. I do not have that switch, I just don't. The very notion of cheating or being cheated on causes a deep physical revulsion in my body. I literally get sick to my stomach thinking about it. There is not a body on this planet that I find attractive enough to cheat on my wife. So to me, the challenge challenge is not that a person can change. I believe anyone can make a mistake and resolve in themselves not to make that mistake again. But it's a matter of having the capacity to make that mistake in the first place. I do not have that capacity. I believe many, if not most people, do not have that capacity. But if you do, if you have ever cheated on a significant other, then you have the switch, and you might spend the rest of your life with that switch in the off position. But you have the switch to begin with, and I can never be 100 sure it will never be switched on again. Not only that, but not cheating on someone is so incredibly easy. You literally have dozens of decisions that lead up to being unfaithful, and dozens of opportunities to not continue down that road. You choose not to flirt back. You choose not to close the office door when they come in. You choose not to add them on social media. You choose not to give them your cell number. You choose not to text them after work. You choose not to get in their car or get them in your car. You choose not to touch them. You choose not to kiss them. You choose not to take off your shirt. You choose not to unbutton your pants. It keeps going and going. It's incredibly easy not to do any of those things. Treating cheating on your significant other as if it's something the right offer could near unavoidably provoke is just bonkers to me. It's like saying the only reason you don't cheat on your partner is because the right person hasn't asked you to get inside of them yet, as opposed to literally just not cheating because it's not on the table, period. Story 27. Absolutely nothing. Cheaters do not deserve second chances. Cheating does not happen by mistake. It is an active gesture of disrespect. Someone who truly loves you will not cheat on you. Don't take them back. Don't give them second chances. They don't deserve second chances. What they do deserve is to lose the person they cheated on. Your relationship will never be like it was prior to the cheating, and most likely they will do it again because they do not respect you or your feelings or the love you have for them. Move on. You deserve someone who would give you the world, and those people do exist. Story 28. I really don't know. I was shattered when I found out. Even though I had my suspicions, I confronted her and she still lied and tried to hide it. Counseling would help, but I wouldn't be able to look at them the same ever again, using and being used by someone else, moaning and doing all the things she wouldn't with me, but freely with someone else. Story 29. Make them go to all of their neighbors and tell your neighbors they cheated on you in front of you. ESP. If it's their house. Same for their side of the family, the whole lot, cousins, grandparents, etc., and all their friends, and then just leave anyway. Story 30. Let's see. Hypothetically, let's assume they cheated with a coworker. They would have to quit their job, stay under constant vigilance, show me the contents of their phone, allow me to talk to the other party just to corroborate the story, basically have no privacy, and do everything I asked until I trusted them again. Sounds unfair? Yeah, it is. That's why you don't give cheaters second chances. Story 31. One, mind erasure methods for myself, technically. 2, constant 100 access to body cam footage like police have, but without the ability to turn it off. 3, mind control, mind reading capabilities unlocked in myself, and they're not aware of it. Sure. 4, provide me with a hair morgue built from the people of my choice to take advantage of for the same period of time and expected durations that said cheater did their deeds. Story 32. I got married to her. I know. Say what you want. Call me whatever you want to because I probably deserve it. I was in a vulnerable place at that time and she said she regretted it. I've never really forgiven her for it and I don't know what to do about. Story 33. I think many of the people that sound off the harshest about cheaters are in very low stakes relationships or they have been cheated on and are hurt and want to lash out. When it's someone they've only known a few years or even months, yeah, scorched earth can be an option. Someone they don't yet have their entire lives intertwined with. Kids, bills, property, extended family ties. It's a lot. I have been cheated on by a person like that, and it does do a number on you. Every thought ran through my mind. Ultimately, there is no option but to work it out. Even if that meant we weren't going to stay married, it had to be resolved in a way that didn't explode that entire far-reaching life. And in the process of doing that, forgiveness also became possible and then reconciliation. So we did stay married. Trust has been rebuilt. The relationship is different. It's not the same one it was before this happened. I mourn the loss of that one, but this one is also very good. Again, if I'm dating someone and haven't made a full investment and she cheats, I probably take that as a sign this isn't for me and leave completely. In my case, there was no way to exit like that. I wish it never happened, but I don't regret staying together and all that happened as a result of staying together. Story 34. You don't give cheaters a second chance because they'll always do it again. That's common sense. That whole only the strong forgive and holding on to grudges is bad for you is just BS propaganda to allow shoot people to get away with no consequences. Story 35. I don't think I could ever truly trust them again, even if I really wanted to. I mean, if I was in a coma for a long time, then I get it. But anything shy of that, I don't think I could let it go. I can even see myself trying, but ultimately, I do not believe it would work. It's all about trust. Story 36. I think most wouldn't give a second chance, but many do give. May it be because of children being involved or our economically dependent, etc. It's a very complicated topic. In the end, we all shouldn't cheat and just be open, honest, and direct. When those urges, serious thoughts come to mind, we all have imagination, so I'm not counting that. Frankly, I did it when I was a self-absorbed teenager, but never since then, in several decades have passed. I can't understand how people don't have a guilty conscience about, since it would heavily rest on my mind and shoulders. Answer. I feel like there's too much black-white thinking when it comes to cheating that doesn't apply to complicated relationships, because some are really complicated with many involved feelings and facts. Cheating just means there are serious problems in the relationship that need to be solved if both people genuinely want to solve them. I think a lot of people would feel like their entire relationship would instantly start over, so why not start fresh instead of in a negative? Story 37. Nothing. Don't take them back. It's simple. It's literally that simple. Love blinds people, though. If your SO cheats, leave. And you tell the parents why, you tell the friends, but you fudge leave. And feeling unsatisfied is no justification. If you aren't satisfied, be mature and talk with your partner about it. If you feel it can't be satisfied, then you say, I think it's best if we go our separate ways, and here's why. Proceed to list the reason you think it may be best. You don't just turn around and bang some random dude you just met or someone you call just a friend. Story 38. Nothing. God himself could come down and tell me to give her another chance. I just tell him to F off. Staying with someone who cheated on you means to never be able to look at her the same, or to trust her, or to respect her. And what would be the benefit or the reason? Love? No, sorry, my love is reciprocal, and you showed me by cheating how little love you have for me. Story 39. Nothing. The trust is gone, broken. There's no recovering from that, ever. If things came to a point where you felt you had to go to greener pastures, why didn't you say anything earlier? Reeks of entitlement and a big lack of communication. Both things I want nothing to do with. Cheat on me once, adios meanie. Story 40. There will be 0 second chances. I don't care if it was just an emotional affair, random drunken hookup. Any kind of infidelity is an absolute deal breaker. If you truly love someone, you wouldn't do anything intentionally to hurt them. Cheating is a choice you made for whatever selfish reason to make you feel better. All cheating just results in a massive amount of hurt you chose to inflict on the significant other you were in a relationship with. Story 41. You'll never give a second chance to a cheater. What will it give me? Thoughts that my partner doesn't love me or never believe him again. I don't need this in my life. Even if I love the person with all my heart, it's unacceptable to cheat on your partner. Story 42. Nothing. Our relationship ended amicably, and it was only once a few months had passed, and he announced with suspicious timing he was dating his best friend's ex. When it was revealed he was shagging her whilst we were still together. I knew something was wrong when he seemed unhappy to be near me. He didn't want to be intimate and seemed depressed in general, and he always said he didn't know what was wrong when I asked, and always gave vague answers or said it wasn't me. Looking back, the biggest indicator was he was suddenly taking on all these extra jobs, which he never told me about until last minute, and came home ridiculously late and never texted like he used to, and it was obvious where he was. He's 27, turning 28, and she's barely 19, so good luck to them. They're at different levels of maturity, and I always thought he was a stand-up nice guy, but he's a fudge selfish male body part. Story 43. Back when I was cheated on, I wanted to give that person a second chance because we were married and I loved them. Ultimately, it didn't work out. Now, there is really nothing a cheater can do to keep me in a relationship. My most important pillars of a relationship are honesty and trust. Story 44. There's nothing they can do. It's only the impact it'll have on others. Do we have kids? Will this break up the whole family? What about my parents? How about the mortgage in the house? Mostly the kids. I've seen people forgive only because of their kids. And while most of the times it didn't work out, it can at least give the kids some sort of a normalcy. Story 45. I really don't know what to say. If I'm honest, I would take him back. But I would have the conversation if you were up to have an open relationship, if that's something you are up for. If not, then you have to cut your losses. I think that some people are overruled by lust. Personally, it is disrespectful that he did it behind your back. But that doesn't mean that they don't love you. Story 46. Someone cheated on me, then bawled his eyes out, fell to the ground and clung to my legs, begging to be forgiven, would never do it again. Tears and snot everywhere. I said, okay, set some boundaries, which included blocking the girl. He promised he'd do it. Next day, I asked him if he blocked her. Immediately, he made excuses as to why he shouldn't have to block her, etc., etc. Turns out he already cheated again, online with other girls. Yeah, never again. Excuses are lies. Lies are lies. Tears are lies. You cheat, you gone. Finished. Story 47. I've always been one of those people that have said, I'd never tolerate cheating, and I still believe I am. But watching my friends' experiences who have had the same belief prior to being cheated on, knowing they cheated doesn't always make it easy to walk away. I guess you never really know how you'll really react to the situation until it happens to you. Story 48. Been cheated on, kicked her to the curb. Best decision I have ever made, 12 years on. I can see that we were a terrible match. She couldn't hold any kind of conversation, had zero understanding of cause and effect, and was generally just full. Just get out. Story 49. Nothing. Cheaters don't change. When your partner cheats on you, they destroy the sanctity of the relationship. They lie. They sneak around. That means they could possibly have been doing those things before or may continue to do them after. No one wants to be in a relationship with a dishonest person. You can't unfuck her, and I can't give you back my trust. It's a one-time deal. Story 50. I got cheated on, forgave. Never again will I be that naive. Busted her once, kept going. Later found out she was still talking to the guy and ended it. Then years later, after the relationship had ended, I learned that she had been cheating on me basically the whole time with multiple people. Story 51. So when my dad passed away in college, my GF at the time started sleeping with a friend of mine who was on his way to med school and had brighter prospects. Surprise, surprise, he just used her for easy intimacy and had no interest in dating her. When she came back to me trying to salvage a relationship, I wanted to sleep with her best friend just so she knew what it felt like. Fair is fair. Story 52. Don't. They crossed a line you can't uncross. Good chance they'll do it again. Anyone who would violate their obligations and possibly rip another person apart for a lay isn't the kind of person who is suddenly going to stop being callous and impulsive. Story 53. Generally, it's a very bad idea and wouldn't recommend. But if there are extraordinary circumstances, like living together for 20 years, have kids, etc., don't listen to what they promise to do. Listen to how they communicate what they did. If there is even a slightest hint at deflecting responsibility, you didn't want intimacy lately as much as you did in the past, you know it's been colder between us lately. I'm trying to fight whatever thing happened to me, but it's hard, etc. Run away. If they try to imply a problem is anywhere else but themselves, run. If they are more sorry they got caught and you being hurt by it, run. They should take full responsibility, not partial, 100 their mistake and nothing else. They may try to explain why they did the mistake. That's okay but unnecessary, but not imply that it was out of their control or that they are not fully to blame. They should be sorry that they even thought of something like that and being able to explain why it was bad, even if you didn't know and never found out. And they should be fully prepared for you to never trust them again. Of course, cut any ties if it is coworker, even change jobs, or do anything that is required to save the marriage. If there is even slightest hesitation in any of these, it means they are just sorry they got caught and will try to hide it better next time. Don't try to lead them to such answers. Either they feel they fudge up and they are to blame, or they just trying to cover it up and calm you down. Of course, there shouldn't be any third chance ever. Story 54. Dude, I'm going through this now and it sucks. Mind you, I was in prison for 2 years, whatever, So I had a time frame of getting over it, and I did it. Now, this was the first time I was in prison, okay? The second time I came out, she had everything already situated and over with. I stayed out a few years, but she continued her buffet of wiener. I looked through her FB account and I stopped. I stopped counting after 30 different guys. Male body part pics, vag shots, boobs. It was horrible. I should have just bounced because she's still going strong and I'm still lost. It sucks because I loved her so much. Story 55. I did it once, I forgave and forgot, truly believing it was a mistake, a stupid decision. He cheated again years later, and I couldn't forgive or forget, and it ate me alive and destroyed my confidence in our marriage. I will never forgive that behavior again. Story 56. I think it depends on a few things. Was it one time or ongoing? Did they tell you and ask for forgiveness, or did you find out about it on your own? Are they willing to put in the effort to earn back your trust? What was their reasoning for why they did it? Do you still love them and want to work through it or not? I think it's really nuanced, and there's no right or wrong one size fits all to this kind of scenario. And I say this as someone who used to believe that I would just leave if someone cheated, but now I don't think it's that straightforward. Story 57. I have not been in the position to have to forgive cheating, so maybe the answer would be nothing. But IMO, cheating can be caused by a very nuanced series of reasons. Some are shoot, like he was hot, or I was bored. And some are quite understandable, such as my husband-wife hasn't had intimacy in a year and refuses to work on our relationship, or my partner is emotionally abusive and I found myself getting comfort from someone else, which turned intimacy. So I think the reason, the length of time, and how risky, dangerous the behavior was would all be factors deciding whether I was open to the possibility of forgiveness. Answer: yeah, you can have better reasons. But if you're in a relationship with no intimacy and the partner doesn't want to fix it or work on it in any way, then break up with them. End things and go about your life. Cheating is never okay. Emotional abuse from your partner? Fudge them, break up with them, and seek that comfort. Staying in the relationship and cheating makes you scum. Story 58. There's nothing they could do or say that would get me to give them a second chance. If they cheat on you, it's because they have no respect for you. And if you stay with them, they'll respect you even less. And given that such as act would utterly destroy any trust you had in them, and it simply becomes a what's the point situation. Why stay with someone you'll never trust again, who clearly doesn't love you anymore, who obviously has no respect for you, who'll lie and keep secrets so they can screw someone else behind your back, who'll blame their horrid behavior on God only knows what, and who'll do it again the moment they get the chance? There's no justifiable or rational reason to put yourself through that kind of hell. Story 59. I have a BM and I give him many chances because I love him that much. Yesterday he cheated again, and here I go, broken into many pieces. I accepted him hoping he would change, but he didn't. So don't give him a chance. It's hard. You can always question your worth. They will never change. Story 60. I was cheated on. It hurt, but we didn't break up. At the end of the day, it was really not much different than watching adult content, and she was still coming home to me. Edit. Dang, just read through the other comments. Y'all are a lot less forgiving than me, but then again, I guess I am kind of a pervert. Story 61. Nothing could ever convince me to give a cheater a second chance. Disgusting, abusive, reprehensible behavior from a morally underdeveloped scumbag. Their only task is to make themselves scarce, flee, run far because the repercussions of their actions will try to follow them. No mercy, no regrets. I blast what they did to every person we know mutually and family. That news spreads like wildfire. Then I turn my back and live my own life on my own terms. They can rot in obscurity. Story 62. So I've done this a couple times and then came to this realization. If they cheated on you, they can change and never cheat again, but not with you. This is especially true if they got away with any incidents. If they got caught cheating after several months of doing it, it will obviously be possible, and they will fall for the temptation again. It will be shorter relationships and maybe even one-night stands to avoid detection, but it will happen. If it does not happen, then most likely you are so overbearing and lack trust that the relationship is ruined. But here's the thing. All it took for those several times was simply asking to get back together. When I first started dating, I believe everyone deserves a second chance, but I also believe nobody gets a third chance. As such, it's in my personal brand of rules to allow for that. I explain that to her every time we break up, that if she wants me back, I'm here, but only the one time. If we break up again, even years down the road, then that's it. And yes, my second longest relationship involved a breakup after about 5 months, got back together a couple of weeks later, then broke up again after 3 years. I've stuck to that all my life, and even my wife had broken up with me at one point. Not for cheating, though. I'm just glad we never broke up again, because no matter how much it hurts, I've always kept that rule. It's tough the couple of times the breakup was for cheating. I knew I had to forgive her and move on to ever trust her again, and I did. I'm still grateful for those chances because I know it would be a lot harder to forgive myself if I broke any of my personal rules than to forgive her if we can talk it out. Story 63. I used to think I would, depending on the circumstances. Unfortunately, my life experience has me much more cynical than that. I believe that people who cheat because they can't talk to their partners are incredibly emotionally unhealthy and or lack the empathy to stop them from doing things that have the potential to completely destroy their partner. Neither of those things are easy fixes, and in my experience, people who are dishonest have practice and usually aren't interested in changing. Story 64. Have had this happen with more than one partner. One has a child with me, and we had been together 5 years at the time. They don't change. It only happens again, and people cheat because the feelings are gone. Whatever is gone, isn't getting rekindled. Id get what anyone says, and that part of you won't ever go away. That's longing for something else. Story 65. If it was a serious partnership, just honesty and telling me whether they want to continue the relationship and/or have its terms revised. Then decide from there. Anything else, any promises, measures, or restrictions are meaningless to me. If this is not what we want, let's figure it out or move on. Story 66. I want to sit down for half a day, talk to the person they cheated on me with the cheater present, but the cheater doesn't get to say a word until the other person leaves. I want to know why, how it happened, and I want to talk about it. I'm still leaving either way, but darn if I'm not going to learn as much as I possibly can from the experience. Story 67. Cheating is a weird concept for me because I don't really care if my partner bangs anyone else. My issue would be if he didn't tell me or had a hookup while he was supposed to spend time with me. Even then, we would have a conversation about it and move on. If it's a repeated issue, we would probably have a long talk to figure out if we want to stay together or separate. I love him and want the best for him, even if that means breaking up. Story 68. A reformed cheater I know said once that it takes a traumatic event to reform a cheater, like their entire network finding out. He said that it did enough irreparable damage to his circle of relations that he has a trauma response to even the thought of cheating, and said it made him stop lying about even harmless stuff overnight. He also said he would never leave their partner just because they were cheated on, because he attributed what he went through to an addiction. Story 69. I was cheated on for 4 years. I demanded quite a bit for forgiveness, mostly because I felt like no one else would ever love me. I was not good enough for anyone better. He never was able to meet all those demands, but he never cheated again. All these years later, even though he never cheated again, he really tries his best. I wish I had walked away. Answer: my last GF cheated on me after 6 months of relationship. I broke up with her, cried rivers, until she called, wanted to talk, promised me that she would never cheat again. You're the man I want in my life. 3 years later, I found out she continued cheating. She excused herself in saying that she was cutting ties with her other friends. Why bother? She still chose me, right? Wrong. 2 years later, she does it again. I find out she leaves, says I'm not good enough, has lawyers on my jerk to sell the house we bought and fixed together. You want your heart broken to a million pieces? That's how you do it. You forgive these people. Story 70. So when my dad passed away in college, my GF at the time started sleeping with a friend of mine who was on his way to med school and had brighter prospects. Surprise, surprise, he just used her for easy intimacy and had no interest in dating her. When she came back to me trying to salvage a relationship, I wanted to sleep with her best friend just so she knew what it felt like. Fair is fair. Story 71. Nothing. Trust would be 100 broken. I won't even entertain the idea of trying again, as that would make them think there would be no repercussions and probably do it again. Even if they wouldn't and it was something of a moment thing, I still wouldn't. Too late. Story 72. I'm not sure. When I was younger, I felt like I was trapped, and I never caught her but knew. If I was in that relationship now, nothing. Peace. Now, I tell every woman I'm in a relationship with that I do not care if they are with someone else, so it doesn't really matter anymore. That's how I genuinely feel. I really do not care. However, I won't get involved unless they feel the same way about me being with someone else. Story 73. Cheating is complicated. It's looked at like the other person is a fudge-up, narcissistic, and selfish, but it goes a lot deeper than that. When people cheat, it can seem like a random act with a random person or something more fudge-up with someone known, but it's deeper than that because those people are giving the cheater something that they're lacking within themselves. It's kind of why it always seems like they're messing around with the perfect person, the person that gives them what you couldn't or wouldn't give, and why it leaves you feeling inadequate. Sometimes it's because you know you were withholding, and sometimes it hits out of the blue because you weren't even aware. Getting over the cheating requires the cheater to really delve into themselves to know why they did it and also admit it not only to themselves but also to the other person. And we as people have too much pride sometimes, and it leaves us too vulnerable because we're exposing our weaknesses to someone that we hurt. Naturally, we don't want to be the bad person in any situation, so we'll fight tooth and nail to avoid that. Forgiveness comes when you're willing to face all of that, and it comes from the heart. This isn't always with words or tears, but with the subtle signs that you really regret what you did, and people pick up on that. We can tell when someone doesn't really understand not just what they did was wrong, but why. Sometimes people need to feel the consequences to understand and then build up the courage to ask for forgiveness the real way. And sometimes the other person just doesn't want to hear it or deal with you anymore, and that's also hard to swallow. It comes down to patience and the willingness to accept that we're all human and do stupid shit sometimes. Cheating is never really about the person getting cheated on, but more so about the person cheating. There will be a clash of pride on both ends, and both sides have to take a hard look at themselves and the situation to move past it. It's hard. Story 74. I cheated on an amazing girl who had only been with one other man, and she still loved me to passing as we were truly made for each other, and she knew I hadn't caught feelings but just fudge a pig tipsy, so she literally found a guy who I couldn't stand. He was such a cunt, and banged him. He must have thought he won the lottery on life that weekend, and even tried to call her 500X after. I was destroyed, but WTF could I do? I was busted. She let a few weeks pass and we went out for coffee and just agreed to both forgive and forget. I'm pretty sure this was her plan all along, as I've never ever cheated again and have even broken up with 2 girls, telling them I had to because I was going to cheat and they didn't deserve it. Story 70. Read or heard somewhere once that everyone is capable of becoming a takedown. All it takes is the right person. I've often understood that to mean that you can never really know someone and therefore never really trust anyone. I've found life to progress a lot smoother and quieter, treating others with due caution on a consistent basis. Story 76. I got cheated on a while back. We broke up. 6 months later, I took him back. I could fully see why he cheated on me. I was very busy, didn't take care of him, didn't show up for him. I was a shoot girlfriend. We were building a house and talking about children. All the while, our relationship was very bad. He panicked, talked to a girl at a party and kissed her. I was very much unapproachable at that time. There was very little room for him to talk to me because I would not take his emotions seriously. Coping mechanism on my hand. I was full-time in school, full-time working and building a house on the weekends. So I ignored everything that wasn't that, including him and our relationship. Anyways, we talked long, saw the responsibilities on both parts, and started again. Now we are happier than ever. I never really think about it again, and we have 2 sons who are great. I think it's like take down someone. Everybody says they would never do it unless someone's pushing the wrong buttons at the wrong time. Story 77. I think it is possible to give them another chance, but both parties have to really want the relationship and have to be willing to sit down and talk about all the things that hurt them with healthy conversation instead of bitterness arguments. Both parties have to be willing to genuinely try to move on past the infidelity. Communication is key. Story 78. Every situation relationship is different. You have to consider the love you have. Did you do anything to steer your partner into cheating? And is the relationship worth saving? Usually both partners are at fault in some way. If it's worth saving, go to counseling and work on yourself while your partner does the same. You'll figure out if the relationship is worth saving after that. If it's not, hopefully you gained a little knowledge about yourself to help you in future relationships. Story 79. She would have to look me straight in the eyes and promise that she won't do it again. I'd make her pinky swear too. No, but really, it would really depend on the situation and circumstances leading up to it. And then it would require absolute honesty and her confession. Don't let me find out and then try to gaslight me or make excuses. The confession, the apology, and the guilt regret must be absolutely sincere, but that's a long shot. 99 of the time, I'm walking away every time. I've already learned the hard way. Story 80. I have once a boyfriend who broke up with me. I did not even ask for any explanations, though I have a gut feeling that he's cheating behind my back, and I was always suspicious about this one girl. Few years after he married that same girl. Even 6 years had passed, but I still got the trauma from that relationship. I don't think I can take back a cheater. The past will only haunt me. Story 81. She must agree to be tied up every time we make love, and a lot of the time we're not. I get cheated on a lot by most women I date, and I'm into bondage as a way of dealing with the jealousy and negative emotions it causes in me. So she'd have to agree to basically become my bondage slave for another chance, so I have control and power in the relationship. Story 82. I think it depends on a few things. Was it one time or ongoing? Did they tell you and ask for forgiveness? Or did you find out about it on your own? Are they willing to put in the effort to earn back your trust? What was their reasoning for why they did it? Do you still love them and want to work through it or not? I think it's really nuanced, and there's no right or wrong. One size fits all to this kind of scenario. And I say this as someone who used to believe that I would just leave if someone cheated, but now I don't think it's that straightforward. Story 83. It would take nothing because I would be done. Actually, it happened to me, and I was immediately done. Was I devastated? Yes. Am I still unhappy? No, I'm engaged with the most loving and sexy woman I've ever met. Best intimacy I ever had. Most intellectually compatible I've ever experienced. We share the same values. When my ex-wife proposed to me, I wasn't ready. I should have listened to myself, but I was young, thought I was in love, and thought I was doing the right thing. This time, I'm doing what I want. We're a great team, and she knocks my socks off. Story 84. I would ask him, cut off the person who he cheated with under my eyes. As someone who is dating my soulmate, I don't want ever date anyone else than this man, and if he cheated me, I wouldn't probably leave. He is my future husband and my future kid's father. There is no plan B. Honestly, I'm too sick even try building relationship all over again. This man woke up for months, 3 a.m. from me, screaming in pain, been cleaning my puke from floor, been okay for me, probably not being able to work ever in my life. How long it would me to find another man who is willing to take me as burden and still love me. Yeah, no, I'd rather pop some pills and die next to him if he ever broke my heart than try dating all over again. Story 85. None. I guess if they offer me anything, if they cheated and wants a second chance. If you give them a second chance, they would definitely do it again. I know it's based on the person, and I haven't been on a relationship also, but I've encountered so many stories where they give the cheater the second chance and then still cheat anyways. Story 86. Depends on the context. If it formed a relationship, that's not an easy thing to forgive. If it was meaningless intimacy and it bore guilt and shame, that's a lot easier to forgive when you truly love someone. I dislike participating on these kinds of posts. Cheating is bad, but I'm tired of everyone acting like they are so perfect in their relationships on here. We live in an all-out digital age where the temptation of intimacy desires are a swipe or click away. People are humans. Humans fudge up, and some have a hard controlling their biological wants and needs. That's not saying people have tickets to go out and do these kinds of things. So if some kid out there gets pissed, don't twist my words. People mainly cheat when they are not happy. If you don't communicate with your SO and you go out and cheat, you are indeed the bad guy of the situation. If you have tried communicating countless times and nothing gets through, it's a lot more forgiving if the other person understands that. On a side note, me and my wife have had this conversation. We both love each other very much, but our relationship is far from perfect. I told her if you ever go out and cheat on me, I don't want to know about it. If it's meaningless intimacy and a one-time deal, spare me your guilt, because that will hurt me, because you want to feel better about what you did. Story 87. Just know the reason for cheating. Was it just a desire or emotional feelings? But a cheater will have to suffer my ignorance for at least 6 months, show that he is not cheating, and tell me that he loves me and never hit on another one. It's all filmy, but I would need some drama. I can simply say bye if doesn't work out, but yeah, let's see if he genuinely apologizing or just coming, because he haven't got anyone and I'm just backup. Story 88. Well, she asked if she can kiss my male friend. She then tried to convince me that it's fine. I said, fudge off, I quit, and she said sorry and met my demands, never cheated on again after this accident. Her cheating was basically online flirting with my friend, so it's no biggie, but I will never forget this bitter feeling. My every former relationship ended because of cheating, and I will just never give enough space to do it. Story 89. I gave my first husband a second chance, and a third, and a fourth. Eventually, after 14 years of marriage, he left me for an AP whom he married. Then 2 years later, he wanted me back. I finally grew a backbone and realized how much better off I was with him gone. He was astonished. I always wondered if she bounced him out because he cheated on her. Second husband. I told him before we married if he cheated, there were no second chances. He laughed like crazy and said, how could you imagine I'd want anyone else if I have you? Best years of my life. Even the last 4, when I was his sole caretaker, were joyful because we were together. Cheaters should not ever get a second chance. Frankly, if they'll do it once, they'll just keep doing it. They just get more careful. Story 90. For me, there's a huge difference between just cheating and like a full-out prolonged affair. Anything that seemed purely physical, I could forgive pretty easily. If she was carrying on a relationship behind my back, even without the extent of the physicality, I'm not sure I could see a way back. Edit. Wow, I wrote this before reading the other e-pleas. I guess this is an unpopular opinion. I love my wife, but I'm hardly Bradley Cooper over here. Shoot happens. Story 91. I cheated on my wife before we were married. Emotionally, not physically. I fudge up. I knew I had fudge up, but I didn't want to lose her. She is the love of my life. I spent every second of the first few years being as transparent as cellophane about anything I was doing. I also made sure she knew how much she meant to me. I ditched any and all ego and devoted myself to her. It took some work, but we've been married a decade now. Story 92. So when my dad passed away in college, my GF at the time started sleeping with a friend of mine who was on his way to med school and had brighter prospects. Surprise, surprise, he just used her for easy intimacy and had no interest in dating her. When she came back to me trying to salvage a relationship, I wanted to sleep with her best friend just so she knew what it felt like. Fair is fair. Story 93. Nothing. Next to physical abuse, cheating is a cardinal sin for me. I once had a mindset that I could forgive, but the shame and the fact that the trust was never there built resentment and did real damage to my mental health. It's a trauma that I carry to this day as a married 36M who has been cheated on in 3 separate relationships. Clara, there are no second chances. Story 94. Sort like giving repeat offenders chance after chance after chance. All that happens is they keep robbing you or someone else over and over and over again and again and again. Sort of tiring, is it not? For every crime committed and reported, 10 by the same person usually happen and go unreported. N. Story 95. Nothing. I found out my partner of 26 years was cheating. I didn't so much as give him a second chance as give him the chance to prove himself and prove he wanted to stay together. His words were all about desperately wanting me back. His actions were all about still seeing his girlfriend. The deliberate decisions and choices required to cheat means the person you trusted and loved the most knew how this would hurt you and did it anyway. Story 96. I think it depends on a few things. Was it one time or ongoing? Did they tell you and ask for forgiveness? Or did you find out about it on your own? Are they willing to put in the effort to earn back your trust? What was their reasoning for why they did it? Do you still love them and want to work through it or not? I think it's really nuanced and there's no right or wrong. One size fits all to this kind of scenario. And I say this as someone who used to believe that I would just leave if someone cheated, but now I don't think it's that straightforward. Story 97. To me, if I really couldn't see myself with anyone else and had a high investment relationship, kids marriage not required, I would try to still love them and work it out if they also felt the same. But if it happened twice, then that's the hard cutoff. Some people do deserve only a second chance, but your relationship has serious issues if cheating ever occurred that will promote cheating again. Story 98. A signed agreement to let me be the sole owner of the property I live on. Ability to ask for selfies whenever throughout the day to make sure there's no cheating. And Life 360. If she ever turns off her location services, I will assume she cheated and will break up. Story 99. I guess that would depend on many factors. I can see a scenario where I would take back a person, but that would be an awfully difficult path to go. I would not have any trust for that person anymore, and thoughts about what they have done would randomly pop up in my head. But if the person really regrets and does everything to fix it, and there are at least no more signs of possible cheating, and I would really love that person, then there is a chance to stay together. It also would depend on whom they have cheated with. Story 100. So when my dad passed away in college, my GF at the time started sleeping with a friend of mine who was on his way to med school and had brighter prospects. Surprise, surprise, he just used her for easy intimacy and had no interest in dating her. When she came back to me trying to salvage a relationship, I wanted to sleep with her best friend just so she knew what it felt like. Fair is fair. Story 101. It's over, period. Not because I would want to punish her for cheating, but because even if I try really hard, I would never fully trust her again, and I don't want that kind of relationship. It's sad, but cheating creates anxiety, trust issues, and you can't really undo that. What's done is done. No anger, no resentment, just consequences for your actions. Story 102. A friend is 37 and his wife of 12 years cheated on him. Not physically, but she started talking to her ex-BF from college and told husband that she loves him now. Husband is devastated, but worried that it is too late to find new love. And also there is too much financial complexity to be resolved easily. Also, husband is worried about his parents who are getting older. Husband decided to stay with her for now. He is not sure what is the correct decision for him, as taking a divorce means too much financial strains and probably not able to recover from it. He is trying to forget, but he is not sure if he can, but also not sure if he can leave her due to so many factors. Story 103. My wife's best friend was cheated on a few weeks ago. She decided to make it an open marriage now, so everybody fudge who she wants. They got a daughter and property together, so they don't want to split. We are watching it with great interest. We like Story 104. I have 2 children, with my partner of about 11, 12 years. I have absolute faith she would never cheat on me. I wouldn't be with her if I didn't. That being said, if she did, I would probably try more for the kids than anything. But honestly, I don't know if I could ever trust her again. I'd probably end up thinking the worst every time she went out. We'd argue and we'd inevitably break up again. Answer: this is my feeling. Would you ever actually fully trust them again? And do you want a life where you can trust your partner on a night out or weekend away or even working late? I think it would just eat at you until the relationship is as good as dead anyway. Saying that, I also have 2 young children and a longtime partner and genuinely don't know what I'd do if they cheated. Walking away is easier said than done when kids are involved. Story 105. It really depends on the cheating for me. Say my partner went to a party, had a bit too much to drink, and ended up doing something with someone. The next day, they come to me and tell me they fudge up and ask for forgiveness. Then I'm pretty likely to forgive them. If it's an ongoing thing or they try to hide it, then it's over. Story 106. Nothing. No second chance. Trust betrayed is trust destroyed. I played that stupid second chance game once and found I didn't trust them at all, nor would I be intimate with them since I didn't know if they were still getting side pieces. They were so shocked that I threw the trash out after about a week of constant doubting about what they were doing when we were not together. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Story 107. Once that trust is gone, it's really hard to sleep in the same bed as that piece of shit that betrayed you, let alone love them again. It's not worth. The resentment never truly goes away. Statistically, it'll happen again. Let's be real. And the amount of it happening that's never been caught would probably give 13 of the world a stroke if we found out the real numbers. Story 108. Most advice here is knee-jerk. It really depends on the individual relationship and circumstances. Some of the healthiest long-term relationships I've seen were ones that recovered from an incident of cheating and where forgiveness and commitment was positively strengthened from it. It was the jolt that relationship needed to flourish. Story 109. My ex-husband had an affair, and I think to give someone another chance, you have to see change, and you have to be able to trust. And unfortunately, most cheaters are incapable of true change. They have to actually want it for themselves. And trust is incredibly difficult to rebuild once broken, if it can even be rebuilt. Part of me will always love him, and that makes moving on so difficult. He was the love of my life. However, I don't trust him. I tried so hard to give him a chance immediately after he confessed to the affair, but he didn't take the chance. He didn't want to fix what he'd broken. I would dislike to rebuild things with him just to be hurt like that again, as much as it hurts that we're divorced now.